Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello, this is Scott.
Brian here.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian, it's Julia. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it is 4. I'm gonna guess.
It is 4 o'clock.
Okay, it is 4 o'clock. This is the regular work session of the Smithfield Township Board of Supervisors, and I'm gonna call this meeting to order. Present are Supervisor Lovenheim, Supervisor Barrett via Zoom, myself, our engineer John Tressler, our SEO Scott Brown, our office manager Julia Heilica, and at some point Ron should be here too. So since he's not here, I'm going to pass over the findings of facts, discussion, conclusion stuff until he gets here to discuss it a little bit. But the first thing we can talk about is the fee schedule update, and our SEO is here to talk about the different options as far as our current, our septic. Scott, thank you for being here with us.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
Okay, Julia, do you want to?
So yeah, I can start this. Sure. First things first, a quick, actually out of left field. The OOR updated their fee schedule, so half of the SEO part of the update is needed. There will be a small facet updating the right to know request record. Moving on into the SEO stuff, this change has occurred because now that we're using Hanover Engineering, the fees that Smithfield Township is charging are largely outdated. And what you will see in your packet first is a breakdown of actual income for 2019, 2020, and the budgeted income for 2021. Underneath that are the expenses that we have incurred from Hanover Engineering so far. If you go on into the next page of your packet, what we are pursuing so far and what we are presenting for your discussion are two different facets. Scott is looking at how many permits the township deals with per year. On average, are 12 to 13 permits. So we can pursue doing a traditional fee schedule where our township residents pay for a permit by an amount of money and Perk Tests by an amount of money, or we can shift to an escrow basis. And what you'll see in the packet is either going to an escrow option or the itemized fee option. Scott, if you want to take it from there, I will turn the floor for the speaker phone over to you.
All right. Well, I think the traditional method, or most of you'll be familiar with. I mean, right now your fees are, I think, $50 for most every function that the SEO does, which is honestly, that's $50. Our charges are like $75 an hour, so it doesn't come close to charging for $50 for inspection or witness a soil probe. Most of those go witness a soil probe. Typically, that's almost just about 2 hours of time if everything goes well and the contractor's ready to go and can get to his site and get the hole dug. A lot of times that's 2 hours with some of the travel involved. Perk test, the same thing. Perk test is even probably that's worse because that's really technically a two-day process. One, to witness what they call the pre-soak, which the state says is a mandatory function, and then also witnessing the perk test itself, which could run almost 5 hours. So you can see with the fees you have right now, no way we're coming close to covering that. So all we're proposing to do is, the one proposal is just to up those fees, and I tried to work with Julia just to give her an estimated time to assuming everything goes well with the probe or the perk test, the estimated time that would take to complete that, and just multiply that by the $75 an hour rate. And so all the different inspections and perk testing, all that basically came to in the roughly $1,300, I believe is what we came up with, $1,400 range of if everything goes normal. And then have something in the fee schedule. If a good example is I'm out on one on Old Mill Road right now, which I'll be out for my third time just on the design review, trying to get the information I need. There's issues out there, and right now there's really nothing in your fee schedule to account for extra visits that aren't any fault of the township or us. It's things that the contractor hadn't done or weren't ready, or were just wrong on the design, and we have to follow up. So there should be some other mechanism in there to have like a callback fee is what a lot of townships will call it, and just again for the normal, again, hour and a half, 2 hours is normally most callbacks are going to be that, because you got travel time and involved. So bottom line, so I think the fees reasonably could go up to the $1,300. That's a lot of the townships that we work with are up in that range. So you will not be out in anywhere close to being out left field there. The other option that I talked to Julia, kind of where it's an afterthought, but your SEO activity, you don't have that many permits in a given year. This year might be an exception because just the building boom up in the Poconos is kind of going nuts. But a lot of our townships, to make sure they cover all their expenses, have gone to basically just setting up each application starts an escrow account. And there's an initial deposit again of like the $1,300 or $1,400, and we can itemize each of our bill to itemize each application. So if I look at 3 different sites, 3 different lots in a given month, I can those three 3 different applications would show up as 3 different sub bills on your sewage bill. So you could see what our charge, what our time involved was, and there would be description of all the a detailed description of what we did. So then that way, the township isn't losing money. Right now, the township is footing bills for other people, for people to build on their lot. In essence, it seems to work pretty well. Sorry, was there somebody else?
Oh, sorry. I was saying we're practically subsidizing construction by letting people off with $50.
Yes. Yeah, right.
Yeah, especially the callback situation where you get there and they're not prepared, or they don't have the equipment to dig the hole so that you can begin the whole thing. You're right. And then we have somebody standing about, either our SEO or you as our SEO, and it costs us a lot of money.
Right. So that's where, and with the again, with the limited number of applications you guys take in a month or in a year, it's not that it's easy for us to set up the sub jobs that really honestly involves really 10 minutes of time to fill out a form in our system to get it set up. And then I'll say the people that hire the good consultants to do their designs, or the good SEO to do their design, have a contractor that's competent and values everybody's time. They'll pay, they'll end up paying less because they get done more efficiently. The people that honestly, if there's people out there that they'll find the cheapest person to do the work for them, but a lot of times they don't do it right, and we have to do it over 2 or 3 times. And again, the township shouldn't be paying for that. For somebody else wanting to cheap out on their design.
Are you saying under the escrow system, if there are less jobs, that the cost would be higher, that they you'd split the fees between fewer people, therefore you'd be paying?
No, it's each individual. We would, individual A, B, and C. I mean, each one would just get billed the time that was spent on theirs. So B would not be subsidizing A in any way. Is that what you were asking?
I think so.
Yeah.
No, it's.
And I think it sounds reasonable in this way, that at least people would have an itemized account of what they were actually paying for.
Right.
It's not like we're making money on it. It says this is what it costs and this
Right.
is what we did.
No, that is the other nice part. They see exactly what it is, and if they got questions, we'll more than happy to answer why it took longer, or why that charge was there. And right now, under the other system, it's just that flat fee. And frankly, if it only takes us an hour to do the inspection, they're paying for 2 hours. And there's really there's no refund mechanism in it.
Well, I like the idea, Scott, of an escrow account, especially initially. So right up front, people they're going to know the price range that they're going to be in, so that there's no shock when everything is done and it's about time to issue the permit and the charges are more than they thought. And I guess we always realized this. Yeah, we were low. And are you looking at similar charges where you work now at Hanover? Are they in this ballpark also?
Well, we have. I mean, we represent a lot
with
of townships.
Your customers. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say I'll call them the townships and the applicants that come into the townships. We call that's our municipal rate schedule. I mean, Hanover's clients, they pay about 20% more. So we always we basically have a discount for municipalities. That's how we've always done it. But I think our fees, our hourly rates are in line with Barry Isett and many of the other engineering firms. Sometimes it's tough to compete with the individual SEO. That's sometimes I'll be honest with you, when we go for jobs, sometimes they'll underbid us on an hourly rate. But I'll also be honest. I think a lot of times they make up for it because they'll take longer to do it. Do certain tasks, they can do a little more time.
Well, from what I'm hearing, we all seem to be in agreement that this ought to be changed.
Okay.
Right. I mean, we're hemorrhaging already $1,000 right now, and that's before any new bills. If you look at what Juliet emailed us earlier in the week, the average costs are eye-popping, especially at the existing rate. So if our costs and the rates match, then we are going to be in a much better place. Otherwise, we'll be losing an untold amount of money.
The other thing to consider is this way we're not asking our residents to foot the bill for any construction for anyone else.
Right. Right now, your general fund is kind of subsidizing the loss. So all residents have nothing to do with the system, or actually, in a small way, footing some of that bill.
They're involved.
Okay.
Go
ahead, Scott.
I was going to say, we have several townships that do the escrow. I can work with Julie and get, some of the setups that they have for you guys to take a look at, or, have Julia take a look at it, maybe a couple different fee schedules and fee schedule resolutions that set up the escrow account, and put that together for you. I don't see why, next month they won't be able to have some kind of resolution for you guys to at least start to take a look at. They're not complicated.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scott, thank you very much.
Sure.
Yeah, Scott, I thank you. Brian here.
No problem.
And I look forward to seeing what you get, what information you get to us.
Okay. All right. Before, I guess, I don't know if that's it for me then, but I guess before, since the board has some interest in it, obviously the Germano permit got issued yesterday, and I'll be bringing it up to the township tomorrow when I come up for a perk test that I have to do. So hopefully that issue is done.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
thank
Scott.
you so much.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Okay, before we finish up on the fee schedule update item, I know, Julia, did you want to take 30 seconds just to describe briefly what the other OOR changes are and how they affect our right to know?
I don't have them in front of me. The only thing I know off the top of my head for sure is that they've now added a segment where once you hit over 1,000 copies, there's a designation between spots.
Right. It's strange because it's still 25 cents for both.
Yeah, but they've parsed it out now. But besides that, as long as the board has no objections, we'll just basically take what the OOR has said and put it right into our fee schedule. That's how the right to know law works.
Right. The only other difference is the
I think they
CD, DVD cost.
There's another cost there, and then pretty much they allow you to do any other actual cost for if you do flash drives or anything else like that.
Right.
And we'll just make sure that all of that's incorporated into our fee schedule, make sure we're covered for everything, and go from there.
In the OOR, they're pretty explicit in their charges, and when in doubt, I think they're having webinars at least once a week, and addressing that kind of stuff. And they're very receptive. If you have any questions, if you go to them, they get right back to you.
Absolutely. Brian's correct. George is absolutely amazing over there. If we have any questions, we just reach out to him, and they get back to you within a day.
Perfect. Okay. So that's that. Next is a discussion on Waterfront Park playground improvements. I sent everyone an email probably about, around an hour ago with references. We budgeted to replace, effectively the Waterfront Park playground and whole play set because it's currently, deteriorating. And so far, I only have one quote. I have feelers out for others, but some people through the state contract haven't got back yet. But so the first proposal I had was called Up and Away, and that has the springtime colors, which I felt was a really good match for our branding, with our logo and our website and everything, it pretty much matches. And that is ADA accessible, just like the other one, the Play Parade. The only difference is Play Parade is a little bit smaller and therefore cheaper, but they both would fit in the existing footprint of our playground. So while I'm not seeking to have a vote on this until like the 23rd, because the quotes that I'm about to read expire at the end of the month because steel is going up, so the prices are going to climb a little. But they're offering free shipping, and that includes, the whole playground, plus a new swing set that has six seats, so I guess it's technically 3 bays, and that would also fit in the existing footprint. And that has 2 bucket swings for toddlers and then 4 regular swings. And then also because of COVID, I figured I'd ask them for a quote also on a post-mounted hand sanitizer station. That we might be able to get elsewhere for cheaper, but I figured we might as well see what it is. And since it's through the state contract, it has to be discounted anyway. And so they're offering a $300 credit plus the free shipping if ordered by the 31st. And that is $18,873.81. So it's within the parameters of the improvement,
How much was it? Because I don't have that.
Yes, right. Oh, no, sorry. I have this one. Sorry. $18,873.81. The only other thing that we'd have to do is change the surfacing to be ADA compliant. And I think we're looking at, like, tire mulch is the new standard. The other one is the same thing, except it's a smaller play set with less climbing activities and dramatic play. I'm not particularly sure what that refers to. I'm going to guess it's the spinning wheel that playgrounds have now. And then the swings are still the same. The only difference is that the playground is a little bit smaller, and therefore that's $14,867.81. So I am reaching out to others, but I figured you both have those in your email so you can see what they look like. And,
I'm looking at them now, Jacob. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Get a good visual. We're talking menacing, correct?
Waterfront.
Waterfront.
Right.
Okay. Oh, excuse me.
It looks interesting. I just haven't had time to look through them, but.
Oh yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to introduce it today, so we would be ready by, the end of the month. Because I already spoke with Ed. We'd be able to install a new one and remove the old one all through ourselves with Public Works. We wouldn't have to ask anyone else.
This is something we use our playground budget for. We're not applying for a grant for this stuff.
Right. Not on this one.
Okay. All right. It looks pretty good. I'd just like to study it a little.
Oh yeah, well definitely. That's why I wanted to present it, to everybody today, so everyone could take a look at it, and we can always alter these things, and when I have more quotes, we can look at those too. Got plenty of things mailed to me, but nobody responded for quotes except this company happened to. Their contact form said you'll hear from us soon, and they called me within 15 minutes to talk about it.
A sales rep in New Jersey.
Well, the guy happened to be in Florida, but it was awesome because we spoke together. I showed him pictures of what our current setup is, and he also looked on Google Maps and our GIS system to see exactly, the footprint.
Jacob, I'm looking at your excuse me, your message to us this afternoon, and the first one I clicked on it up and away, quick ship, and it had a price of $28,512, discount $14,256 for a total of $14,256. So it was 50% discount.
Right.
Is that what we're looking at? Something like that?
Yeah,
that price?
That's what we're looking at. Yeah.
Because was it mentioned 18,000 or something?
Oh, the 18, because if you scroll down on that quote, it
Yeah.
includes the swing set too, and the swing. And then,
The swing, so.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, it includes the swing. So that's why it comes out to that 18 and change.
All right.
So I'm gonna keep.
What happened to Ron, do we know?
Oh, well, I was gonna say that in a moment now that we have time. I was going to say before that, I'll keep everyone updated on anything else that I find or other quotes or if this place offers any other deals. But, Ron will be on the Zoom soon, is my understanding. He, can't make it in person today. But, I emailed him that, so, we'll give him, if he doesn't appear soon, we'll give him a call, because two of the things on here he asked to talk about, so definitely don't want to get by those without him. The next thing was, after discussing the policy for rejection of incomplete applications in writing, which we'll wait for Ron on, is the 2021 ground fertilization service bid. We received two this year, and we received one from Strasser Nature's Helpers and the other from DCS or D'Angelo Lawn Specialties in Hazleton, I believe. And Strasser came out to $6,361.74. That is for the early, for the spring, summer, and fall applications like we asked for. And then from D'Angelo or DCS, they came back with $5,595. So.
Sorry, can you say that number again?
$5,595. So it's a difference of somewhere about $700.
Is D'Angelo the same company that screwed up the line painting?
I do not believe that is the same company.
Another D'Angelo.
Well, yes, that's what his lawn specialties.
We used that firm before, and I think we might want to briefly talk to Lois on the results.
Okay.
Sure, can always ask her. But yeah, so that's where it came out. We don't have to decide today, but definitely by the 23rd. So we have those on hand.
Okay.
Yeah, D'Angelo, it is not the same company, Robert.
Glad to know that.
Yeah, it's not the same one that did the line painting.
Okay.
All right, so we'll have that on hand here, so we can talk about that. Next thing is considering ratifying the authorization to advertise the road crew. So that went into the Pocono Record, and Lois gave us the proof of publication there. And I think they also published it on ZipRecruiter through that deal. It was advertised 3 days in print. I don't remember the exact specific days, but I don't know. Do you know if that's over now, Julia, or the 3 days? I don't know if they were right in a row or if it was just a bundle of three.
It was a bundle of three.
Okay. And then the online is for 14 days. And that was only $254.15. So Lois took care of that. Can I hear a motion to ratify that authorization?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Levenheim. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Barrett. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, well, that is done, but now we're down to nothing else. Julia, do you want to call Ron to make sure he got that, and then we'll take public comment now just so we can be ready for him?
Sure.
Okay. moving on to, public comment before we address the other matters.
Somebody else needs to take a minute.
Okay. Or, Robert, can you call Rob? We'll make that easy. Dr. Shabelsky is here in person. He wanted to make a comment.
Who's that? Who's that, Jacob?
Bob Shabelsky.
Oh, okay.
I came to the township, get the PRDs on the zoning map.
Mr. Shabelsky, just to make sure Brian can hear you, could I
he's
bother you
fine.
to move up just?
Either come to that chair or closer to the dais.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, how you doing, Bob?
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you excellent.
Okay, there's two PRDs, Shawnee Village, which is the timeshare village, and Shawnee Valley, which is the PRD going up Hollow Road, that was amended when the property was given to the Park.
Roberts, we're gonna be ready for you in about 10 minutes or so.
And when a PRD is approved, when a PRD receives tentative approval.
It says the passcode.
It's to be put on the township zoning map. And neither of these ever have been put on. So I'm requesting,
We'll get back to
that they be put on the zoning map.
So, let's be clear, since no one has ever been clear on this. I was on the phone, I'm sorry, there are two PRDs.
Right.
And this one has never been on the maps, and it's the other.
Neither one of them, I don't think, Robert.
Well, the one Shawnee Valley is on the map because we have that map, or at least we have it.
You have the subdivision,
Right.
but it's not on the zoning map.
Yeah, it's not on the.
It's not on your zoning map, our zoning map.
But at least it's carved out as being there. The one along River Road and Buttermilk Road, I was not even aware it existed because we have that area zoned, but it really isn't ours. It's
Excuse
really
me, I am here.
Hi, Ron. Thank you. We're just in the middle of Bob Shabelsky's here asking about a zoning map change.
So, Brian, I wasn't even aware there was one.
That was the beginning, Robert. That's where it all almost started with Carl Hope and that gang. And Bob Shabelsky was a young man when that started, and yeah.
Well, but those properties are in our zoning map, but they really are not. They're not ours. They're in the PRD, right?
Right. The MPC and the township ordinance just say, show it on your zoning map once you have tentative approval.
Right.
And I know I brought it up in the past, never officially like this, but the first PRD was in 1974. So we're looking at 27 years.
Right. And if we showed it on our zoning map, then are we just showing this PRD, or are we showing the individual properties? Now we show the properties, but I guess those lines don't mean anything.
Well, no, you would reflect the PRD as if it were a zone, so it would just get its own color.
Well,
and then say
Right.
PRD.
then the question comes up of what good is this doing at this point, this PRD?
Well, it eliminates confusion. I mean, there's, the recent suggestion of the ED zone is a good example. Nobody knew what was in the PRD.
Right.
So I think it behooves it to get it on. First of all, the ordinance calls for it, the MPC, which enabled it, calls for it, and it ought to show PRD so people know what it is.
Then we definitely should. But then, of course, the PRD is its own township, in a way.
Right.
We don't have any control of the zoning within it.
Well, that doesn't become effective until there's final approval, which there is for Shawnee Village. The first PRD, everything's finally approved and finished. Shawnee Valley, that's not the case. There's only sections of it that have final approval.
Correct.
Once you have final approval is when zoning and regulations of the township no longer apply. That's after final approval.
Right. But this area does have final approval.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
Shawnee Village does. And we never, my God, we never put it on the map, huh?
No.
Wow.
That should be a relatively simple, map request from the planning commission. Now it's just a question of, which properties does our zoning officer have to post, but I mean, this is so basic.
Jacob, I have a suggestion if it's acceptable to the township. That is, Charlie Vogt does a lot of work for us. I think he's vice chairman of the county planning commission.
Right.
He could easily asking people and lay out the various parcels. That's acceptable to you guys.
I think that's a great idea, Bob. Jacob, Charlie's been around for almost the inception of this whole thing, and he and Bob are the most knowledgeable anyway. I don't think we'd even have to post it, but maybe Charlie and Ron can get together and look into that. Check with our county planning commission, but I don't think it's a hard thing to do.
No. I mean, that should be, pretty simple.
Yep. And what it's the PRD. What does it include? Just it's the first thing you would do is just have a boundary guide of it, and then list the parcels within it. I guess I don't even know if that's necessary. It's already been done in a way. But I would defer to Charlie Vogt and working with Ron and Bob Schabelsky.
Oh,
yeah.
Great.
That sounds great. Yeah. So
we're
going to pursue that then, Bob, and we'll be in touch about logistics. Thanks for bringing that up.
Okay. One other point, the proposal for the ED zone, I'm not here to try to stop that. What I'm saying is, with respect to the timeshare village, that's already set aside as open space, owned by Shawnee Commons. So it came up in the planning commission in January. I don't know if you can change the underlying zoning and still have the PRD on top of it or not. But
all right, I remember that was a question.
But
I think Ron
the point is, it doesn't make any difference to the timeshare owners, because their property is protected as open space in the PRD. And actually, I hope that you can do that, because I'd suggest putting in Shawnee Square, because that's an area that would make some sense, but that's PRD right now. But if you can change the underlying zoning, I'm in favor of it. I didn't mean to come here and try to, I wasn't here because of the
sure.
It sounds like we can't, only because we'd be spot zoning, wouldn't we?
Unless you can change the underlying zoning under the PRD.
Right, that was the question.
I don't know the answer to that, and I know Ron wasn't sure of it back in the planning commission meeting either.
Well, it's a good question for Charlie.
Charlie doesn't know the answer to that one. Believe me.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Thank you. All right. Ron, thank you for joining us. We saved all the stuff that was relevant to what you had asked to speak about. We put that on hold until you were here. So, the first thing would be the written decision for 1836 Saloon.
This is Ron. I've unmuted myself. First of all, I want to apologize for not being there present in person. For some reason, this was stuck in my mind to be the meeting tonight. It's second Tuesday, and that it was going to be at 7 o'clock. I was looking through my papers, and I said, "Wait a minute! I think this was a 4 o'clock meeting." And then I started calling, and of course, found out that that's when it was. So I apologize for not being there in person. The bright spot of that is that you save a little bit in legal fees because I don't have to be driving around. So that helps a little bit. In any event, as to the Natosi matter, that is finished. It's decided. As I said, I was waiting for the transcript of the hearing, although the hearing was very small by way of testimony. Maybe it might have been 10, 15 pages. Either I didn't get it or I misplaced it. So I figured over the weekend, I better get this decision done because it's due by the 12th of March. So it's done. It deals with, obviously, the concrete porch with the wooden roof and the floodplain. And if it meets with everyone's approval, you can vote on that and then have Lois send to me a copy of the signature page, and then I will send it along to the applicant, etc.
Okay. Anybody have any?
And Ron, you're saying you didn't get the transcript. I don't think I ever saw it either.
Well,
Jacob, Robert?
This is
I never
Ron
saw it.
speaking,
Yes,
Brian.
sir.
I did not get it, but again, I might have misplaced it. That does happen. But I don't think the transcript would have been very big because I remember it was Mr. Natozzi Jr. who came to the hearing, and there was some explanation as to why the first application was rejected because of various matters. And then he goes on to explain what he did. So it really wasn't necessary in order to complete this item. This is a very simple matter. Robert has noted before that this is simply the porch with the covered roof. This isn't some large scale land development that we really need the transcript for. So when I came in over the weekend, I said, you know what, I'm just going to write the opinion, be done with it so that the board can sign it today, and then we get it out by the deadline of the 12th.
Yeah, and I think you covered everything. It's the best of my notes and knowledge also, Ron.
Okay, with that said, do I hear a motion to have us sign the written decision on the 1836 Saloon conditional use application?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Robert Levenheim. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Brian Barrett. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Jacob, I don't mean to interrupt, but I have my agenda that did not have the Natozzi matter on because it was prepared before I sent my email requesting that it be on. Can you give me the letter of that so I can update my agenda?
Yeah, that is, we have that as, well, that's under number 5, unfinished business.
Okay,
Right.
so that's where you have that? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to mute myself again now so we don't have that background.
Well, at this point, though, we are moving on to policy for rejection of incomplete applications in writing. I am not sure who wants to start, Julia or Ron, John, whomever.
This is Ron, Mr. Chair, and I will start. I just think we need some policy. I'm having, at least within the last few plans, so it's not something that's been a long time problem, but plans come in, especially land development or subdivision plans come in. I don't know if they've been accepted or not accepted, what date they may have been accepted, etc. And sometimes they're not complete. So I think we should have a process in which when plans come in, someone is designated, and that's the key. Who are we going to designate to look at the plans, make sure that they are all in order, make sure the filing fee is paid, make sure that any other supplemental documents have been made part of the plan, and then they are accepted by the township. And if not, then the process is such that those plans are not even are then given back to the applicant within a day or 2 or 3 of that review, along with the check, and say that these plans are not accepted because they are not complete. Now, I know John does an administratively complete review when plans come in. I'm not laying this work on him, but if that's sufficient for the township, that's fine. But then if John says in his letter that the plan is administratively incomplete, then there needs to be a process in place where that plan then gets packaged up and the check is sent back to the applicant and say, see you later.
Ron, just through my experience, that was always somebody, the zoning officer, went directly to the zoning officer, and we did not actually allow anybody to accept plans that say they come in and they want to dump the plans on Lynn or Lois. It would be to go to the zoning officer, and it was his discretion to take a look at them. If he had doubts, he would go to either John and or you. But you're right. That's where it stopped. And actually, it didn't even get that far, to tell you the truth.
Well, my concern is what brought this up is these AT&T singular wireless applications, where the fella had written to the township and said, I filed a plan back in October. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not attending any zoning meeting on this because that process is approved. And then he's filed now since another plan. Now, again, in deference to the type of plan, Robert makes a good point in his emails where he says, I don't know why we're fighting about these things. This is simple 5G, wireless stuff, and it's good for us, etc. All right, that may be fine, and I'm okay with that for this plan. But
but that's not what we're fighting
we need to have a
Robert.
process when we know what's coming in and if it's being accepted. So because there's time limits, there's 60 days for a hearing on plans that come in. And
that's the crux of the matter, Ron. It really wasn't about the cell tower itself. I didn't think there would be any problem with it. It's our internal. How do we function? Because, as you said, and there's several more instances where we had kind of let it get by us, and there is no really reason for it. No matter what it is, if we just have something in place that we apply it universally. It's a simple thing to do.
Yeah, and perhaps it may well be that for today's purposes, the matter is tabled, but that each of the township people are given an opportunity to comment about what should be done. Ken Wolf can comment about what should be done. Lois maybe can comment about it. Julia can comment about it. John can comment about it, so that everyone within the township internal organization has commented before some policy is adopted. If you want to adopt a policy, you may say, look, this has been going just fine. These couple of AT&T things got screwed up, but putting those aside,
there's more. I'll research it now and I'll get some of it to you. I just don't want to go there right now, but there's been some lapses. And and I think Lynn should be included also in that conversation.
Well, I think that we can get, those that have touched the plan, as it exists, and then, see, what the results of that are. I know Julia has done some research, but ideally we have something that, flows a little more naturally, and when there's something wrong, there's a quick, response out. We have to reject this rather than giving, we can't really wait on people. We need to, for our own clarity, to just kick stuff back.
Amen. And for our own protection.
Let me make a comment. Brian, this is John. I don't recall doing this very often if ever before, but we just did get an application in from Quality Homes for what they call a 4-lot subdivision.
Mm-hmm.
I did my review, and I don't believe it should be accepted as a subdivision. I believe it's a land development plan. And I'm recommending to the Planning Commission, who's meeting this coming Thursday night, that the plan be rejected because it does not meet, they have not submitted enough information for it to qualify as a land development, but yet that's what I believe it is under our ordinance. So, that's maybe somewhat tangential to this discussion, but it does come up. And it would take me, I would not expect Ken to be able to make that call. It took me to make that, and we had some internal discussion about it as well at my office.
Right.
But I ultimately decided that it doesn't qualify.
Well, and if that's the case, I think it does speak to the broader point here, too. I think it's more than tangential where, even if we had form letters, like obviously this is not the debate to be had out, all right now, but I think form letters, to where we know, hey, our engineer said this doesn't fit. We just, send them a communication, the next day, or, before the clock starts to run, and we won't be able to catch up.
Jacob, let me just say this too. When people come in and they go to, and they sit with Ken, they'll promise him the world. And one of the instructions to these people is that you have to supply these plans to our engineer and our solicitor. No problem. I'm going to do it as soon as I leave. And it never happens. And poor Loie has to call John and Ron. Hey, did you get those plans? And so that in itself is, there's got to be a follow-up in a way, too. It just involved in the whole, putting this whole thing together.
Sure.
This is Ron speaking again. And you know, I'm thinking as we're talking that we may not necessarily need a policy in place or a resolution in place, because as this item that John just talked about, he's going to recommend that it be rejected because it's not correct. The Planning Commission then makes its recommendation on Thursday, and then the matter gets kicked over to the supervisors for the supervisors to then review the matter, and they can also reject it as long as it's within the 90-day window. My concern is if we're doing that process, that's fine. That allows an applicant to have 3 reviews: the intake person review, the Planning Commission review, and the supervisor review. And then if they fall on their face after those 3 reviews, well, maybe they deserve it. My concern is when the time starts to tick. If we're going to get a plan in the door and we're going to accept it that day, then I need to know when that date is, rather than guessing at it, because then we have to react. We've got 90 days to act on subdivision land development plans, 60 days to act on conditional uses. And unless the applicant grants the township more time, those deadlines are set in stone.
Well, Ron, so the plans come in. Who would make that call on the same day they're received?
That's what we have to talk about. Should it be Ken? I don't think it should be Lois or Julia, because they don't have the training in that regard. I think it's either Ken or John or me or some combination of them all, so that we know that the plan is okay.
Amen.
When you say, like Lois is told, well, don't worry, we'll get the plan to the or we'll get a plan to the engineer tomorrow, or we'll get
they tell Ken that.
I would reject it right there. I would reject it right there and say, no, I'm not taking it. When you have all the plans here that we can distribute, then I will accept your plan. But that's a policy decision. That's not made by me as just the appointed schlub, if you will, of the township. That's got to be the supervisors have to be in unison on that.
So with that said, I think that we can give Julia the ball to formulate some options and speak to, those involved, and then let's aim to have something by April.
Well, do you think we could all sit together? Would that be possible? At least our internal staff. Maybe Julia could put something together, and we sit and we discuss it, and as opposed to each individually coming across with what they think will work or not work. And somebody might say something, and maybe Glenn, who usually is the first one to see these darn plans, could say, well, no, listen, and maybe have her input. It would be a simple thing to do in-house.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that won't happen. I'm just saying that let's get the ball rolling with Julie, and then she can, gather the staff, and then we can go from there before we adopt something.
Right. And as I said, it's a simple thing. Just get us all together. Well, getting us all together, but yeah. Okay. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, that sounds good. Bless you. Okay, next is F, which is the correspondence we received from Mark Wolf on February 11th regarding Smithfield Gateway Phase 1A1 performance security, which we also colloquially call the indemnification agreement, I think, on that.
This is Ron speaking. This is Ron speaking, Jacob, and I would like to have John weigh in, at some point, because obviously his opinion is not only respected because of his knowledge and training, but he is an engineer, and maybe I am being too dramatic being a non-engineer. And, it's not my purpose to frustrate this development or to cause Mr. DePetris or engineer Olmsted agita, as my Italian mother would say. But I don't know. I don't know how we can accept performance security on a grant. What if the grant isn't paid? How are we gonna be protected in that regard? I'm not sure, but maybe John has come across this in his travels and may know something more about this kind of stuff than I am. And I have been involved in pre-performance security work at a site, which is basically grading, earth moving, but no vertical development, by entering into an indemnification agreement where the developer and contractor enters into an agreement with the township to protect the township in the event anyone gets hurt at the site. The township is on a policy of insurance, plus the applicant puts in maybe $25,000 in account that is to be replenished when needed for any review of the grading and earth moving by the township engineer and other township professionals. So, I mean, I understand that, but here they're saying, we want you to accept this grant money as our security. I don't know. I mean, I'm just concerned. What if the grant doesn't come in now? Then what are we doing? Are we going to have roads halfway done or stormwater things only half completed? So again, I'd ask John for his expertise, because maybe he knows something about this that I don't.
All right. Before we go there, I looked at this, and I looked at it about 4 times. And did you all get that email I sent out?
Yeah.
Just my comments on it. There's some stuff there that really, just in my own experiences, these grants and loans and things, they're made specifically either through the PMI or directly with the DEPG. They're not transferable. So God forbid something happened, and here we are sitting in the middle of it in our guarantee. It just doesn't apply. I'm talking an LSA grant, an RCAP grant, and these things are all issued after the fact. After you've completed the project satisfactorily, you apply for your reimbursement. Now, they say they did get the RCAP grant for about, I forget, $1.5 million, but that's a concern of mine, and it's it's something we really got to take a look at. Do we know? Do you know what LSA does? I don't. So they got the grant. I have never seen it. I don't know that we had to see it, but just to know they got it. But what does it say? It's Jesus, the PIP. That's a loan. RCAP. We had 2 RCAPs, and it took us years to get reimbursed. John, you were probably helping us fight that fight, and the CFA. All I'm saying is that God forbid something happens and the work is not completed, and the onus is back on the township, and these guys in the LSA, PIB, CFA, are going to say, no. This is you're not any a part of this. Nor will you be.
I want to hear, John.
Well, right. I just wanted to make sure that what I had submitted was taken a look at, or will be looked at.
Yeah, because Brian's talking on the phone. He's only by phone. When I talk, just where it lights up.
Okay, Brian's done.
I don't know how much I can offer. I pretty much echo what both Ron and Brian has said. I don't think anyone wants to frustrate the developer. I think just the opposite has happened. We tried to help them quite a bit. I think everyone has. But I agree that there's a lot of construction that is being committed, and a lot of it is in the name of the township, or the township will bear the ultimate responsibility. And I've never seen, in all my years work with a lot of townships, without some sort of security in place, to protect the township. The other thing is, we've never even gotten, a cost estimate from their engineer to review. We don't even know that the numbers that they're talking about, we agree with. And
Well, how about, who did the cost estimate? I hope it wasn't, Doug Olmsted.
well,
I mean, that'd be a conflict of interest, but his engineer, we don't even know who they are, do we?
well, they're Langen. Langen should have prepared cost estimates for them, and they should have been submitted to the township for
Right.
review.
Yep.
And they have not yet. Now, it's easy to get a hold of Doug and say, Doug, you gotta get that stuff to us.
Well, what I'm
But-
going to suggest is that this meeting is not to, debate the merits, but just to formulate what we're going to ask when they speak, because they don't expect an agreement on this today, but we're supposed to, determine, what are we going to ask when we speak with Doug and Jim when they come here for their land development plan.
Well, the big
So
question is,
when we speak to them, and especially when it comes to this situation, especially with the performance guaranteed for security, my question is, how does it transcribe? How does it move along? God forbid, as I said, something goes wrong. You got a 72-inch pipe 30 feet into the ground. Are we looking at that? I mean, it's going to be our responsibility eventually. And do we have anybody over there taking a look at it? Who is monitoring? Who's on the on-site observers? There's so much.
I am staying on top of that for the township, Brian.
Okay, you're involved then?
Yes, I am. But
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Do you have any security in place in case something goes wrong, or Petrus could have a problem in some other part of the state that bankrupts his company. I don't know if he's got Gateway Smithfield set up as a independent LLP. I don't know any of that, but I do know that without security, the township is not protected.
Right. So, I guess what I'm saying is then let's, take that information and speak to the specifics, with Doug and Jim on that day, or maybe if you would like to speak with him, on the interim. I don't think they would be opposed to being able to, have it set straight so they know, where we're at. I definitely know that the intention of this is.
I think John should speak with him.
Yeah.
I think we should take the attitude of, look,
Yeah, and Mark actually suggested that if you had any questions, give him a call directly, either John or us, whoever.
let's look at it.
So,
as the
and I
glass-
think we should do that before we sit and meet.
Let's look at it as the glass is half full, not half empty. How can we get through this, get them on track for the time schedule they need, and get what we need
Right.
just to make it work?
I'll send an email tomorrow. I'll copy everybody so they can see what the correspondence is. I'm gonna tell them basically, we wanna review the costs. We acknowledge their correspondence, but we still have concerns. If the grant money doesn't come through and you get held up, how is the township protected? We need to have more
Right,
information
just
on
speak to
that.
the
John, is it transferable? So you got an LSA grant and something happens, is it transferable to the township to begin with?
Good question.
Yep.
And the loan, Christ almighty, if something goes wrong in that loan, that's his loan. There's some areas there that I don't feel comfortable with personally, but as everybody has said, let's get together with them. Let's get in touch with them and get this going, because we're getting so close.
I will attempt to capture everything we just said tomorrow in an email.
Thank you, John.
This is Ron speaking, and I only put this on, or requested to be put on the agenda because of the fact that I believe the Smithfield Gateway projects, land development and or subdivision, are going to be on the Planning Commission meeting this Thursday, which means then they will then kick over to your meeting in due course, because I think the deadlines on those are sometime in April. So again, my concern was, let's say, just for example, the PennDOT situation where where the township signing the PennDOT things, etc. Their estimate for that project was $5.6 million, and they're saying, well, we want to just post $1.2 million, which is like 22% of that project, because the grants and loans, etc., will take care of the rest of the stuff. So, okay, but what happens if they don't come in? So that's my concern.
Well, and if they're not transferable, that's key also.
Now, with the PennDOT improvements, PennDOT often, and we should get this confirmed again from DePetris, PennDOT often requires their own separate escrow to guarantee the improvements. Now, I know Jim has got all sorts of deals with PennDOT. I don't know what they're requiring and not requiring, but we should get that clarified.
Well,
I think the MPC doesn't allow you to double dip. If it's escrow
Right.
through PennDOT, then we don't need an escrow.
Right.
But we've got the big pipe on the other side,
Right.
and we've got all the internal site work on township property that we do have to be protected for.
Right.
so we should have
Yep.
some viewpoint to express by Thursday night, I guess, on all this.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
That way we're prepared for the 23rd.
I'm not sure how quickly the planning commission is gonna move this forward. I mean, we have a pretty long review letter. I don't know if they're gonna be comfortable moving it forward or not.
Well,
Well,
the onus
since
is
they
going to be.
only deem to meet once a month. I think we've got to insist that they move forward here. It just can't be postponed because this
I think, well, we can't insist, Robert. We ran through that before, but what we can do is that they have that second work session where they can make decisions. And isn't it the last, I forget how it's changed around, but it's the last, is it the last Thursday of the month, or even
I think
earlier
it's the
than
fourth
that?
Thursday, Brian. Fourth Thursday.
Okay. All right. But that's pushing it up because that'll be after we meet.
Well, if they refuse to make a recommendation and the applicant refuses to grant an extension in time,
Yep.
it comes to the desk without the planning commission's recommendation, then you have to make your own decision.
Well, from what I've heard, and I only know what they have to say, they don't have the time. They've got to get going on this.
That's what I've heard too.
So, I mean, I think they're going to review it. So let's wait to let's not postulate on that yet. Let's let the planning commission do what they have to do. They have multiple review letters. They were given them a month ago, so they should have no excuse to say that they didn't read them or look at them.
Right.
They've had them for a month, so let's give them the benefit of the doubt, and then we'll see what happens come Thursday, and then post John's conversation with Doug.
All right.
Okay.
And
Does anybody have anything else before I?
yeah, I'd just like to return to what Bob Schabelsky was saying. I think the idea of getting somebody to review this and give a recommendation is really good, and it seems like that should be our responsibility, since we approved the PRD in the first place, and it is our zoning.
Well, yeah. I mean, because Charlie is going. Well, he offered Charlie to work
Yeah.
to tell us the specific parcels, and then at that point we can ask the county planning commission to give us a new zoning map, and then we will figure out
But
what the posting
if
requirements.
he's interested, I think we've got to approach him then at doing this.
You mean Charlie?
Yeah.
What's that?
That's my phone.
I didn't know where the hell I was. Bob's going to talk to Bob Schabelsky is going to talk to Charlie, and the only thing I'm saying is that Charlie vote Bob Schabelsky. They go back to just about day one with this whole goddamn thing, and they know it, and they know the laws, and they've been through it. And working with Ron, we'll see what they can do. Let them do it at no cost to us. It's going to be pro bono on Charlie's part. So.
You think so? I didn't hear that, so I'm not, that's news to me.
They need this thing, but we'll be in touch
A
with.
lawyer pro bono? What is that?
Wait a minute.
Right, all that said, does anyone have anything else before I
do, actually.
Okay, Julia, go ahead.
Thank you. I sent you guys an email out with the, DCNR, and DCED grant update about, I believe, a few days ago at this point, March 5th, I sent it out. Having spoken with Christine, Dottore, the idea about the land, acquisition for Marshall Falls, that grant idea is now toast. So we cannot pursue that. We're good to go on the River's Edge idea, so we're gonna move forward with that. But because of looming grant deadlines, I do need to know what the board would like us to apply for. And that being what it is, I'd like to know if we should shift the Marshall Falls Phase 2 development to the DCED grant or stick with the vision loss for the DCED application. And then if we should use the second phase, the second application to DCNR for the Waterfront Park development, doing a different trail thing and then using the match results for it. This is basically me just asking for, an idea of what I should do following up on that email that I sent to you.
Well, first of all, let's go back to DCNR is only 50%.
Yes.
So it seems like we should try to dovetail one with another with DCED, because then if we get, hopefully if we get one and we get the other one, then, we can use one as the match to the other. But what would it be? I'm not sure since Marshall's Falls is out, what are we proposing for Waterfront, or what's on the table?
So the land acquisition idea for the DCNR is out.
Okay.
The River's Edge master site plan, they said, is a great idea, so we're proceeding forward with that one.
Now, I read that, but, you made some comment that she likes things where there's access to water. Isn't that the bike park, or what are we talking about there?
That was just something that she had mentioned as part of a heads up. We really like access for all and waterfront access. That was more of a kids thing.
Okay.
I think, didn't she say, Julia, that she loved the idea of the access that we already have with the fishing pier, the dock, and thought that was just a great idea to take advantage of it.
And that's, we're talking about River's Edge now.
Yeah, stepping back to the River's
I
Edge.
know that, yeah, it's...
Yeah, just to close that one down, as it were, she said that the River's Edge master site plan is a great idea, and we can go full steam ahead with that one. So that one...
What is that? Is that the bike park?
Yeah, that's the bike park. The idea would be to, go after a planning grant, so we can put a master site plan in place for that park, which would allow us over, the 5, 6, 10-year plan to, if we wanted to further develop that park. If we wanted to go after any DCNR funding for that park, they basically require a master site plan to be in place.
So that would be the April 15th, or April 14th grant.
Correct.
Right, and then that's because there's two pots of money with DCNR, and they are separate between the planning and then the actual development, correct?
That's correct, so we can put in two different grant applications without competing with ourselves.
Or the same thing for River's Edge.
One for River's Edge, that would be the planning portion, and then we could put in another DCNR grant that wouldn't compete against the River's Edge application.
What would that be?
Well, that's kind of what I'm here to ask. The backup plan after the Marshall Falls land acquisition was canned, was an idea to go after funding, staying with how much work we're doing at Waterfront Park. Let me scroll down a moment here. In case the land acquisition didn't go through, would be to potentially fund the second clay pod, which would be the north one right up here. Basically a little bit behind us in south where we stood now.
You mean the one up in the rocks? Where? Which one?
The one after you put the pier that will be constructed on your right and walk up towards the township building as you stay next to the river.
Because there is one that's already approved where you walk along the riparian, border of the creek, and then
Yeah.
this area, there's one, but that's already
Yeah.
been approved.
It's approved, and we have the funding to construct the pod.
Yeah,
We don't have the funding to construct the inside of the pod.
I see.
So that is something that we could look at, depending on what we wanted to do. That cost could run us up anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 if we wanted to get really fancy about it. Christine has said that whatever we wanted to do as a match for that, because it is a one-to-one match, would have to be within the Waterfront Wellness Park itself. I told her and warned her that I don't think I could have this happen, but if you wanted to use the swing set plans that you guys were planning on doing in the next couple of months as a match, that would be a great match for that. If it's not something that you guys wanted to wait on, because I know that that's part of this year's budget, other things that I had kind of thrown out as a way that we could match, we do have a large contingent of our residents that love playing volleyball. We might be able to consider putting in a volleyball court. We might be able to consider adding length to the trail or an additional pod to the Vision Moss Trail, potentially footing the bill for updates to the community garden, or other ideas.
Well, that could go, if we did all of that, whatever would be done at Waterfront, say next year, because I definitely want to get the playground done this year. So if we had to look at alternates for next year, would it be the aggregate as the match with, say, if you did the volleyball court and the community garden update? Say you did both, would the aggregate of that be the match or contribute to it?
Yeah, and feasibly, we would have to find more things,
right, because
depending on what you guys
only like
wanted to do.
$15,000.
Well,
Yeah, I didn't want to contribute too much time into this because I didn't know where the board wanted to go with this. Feasibly installing a volleyball court is going to cost us anywhere between $6,000 and $10,000. Depending on what you wanted to do with the community garden, if it's laying down new rocks, if it's constructing additional beds, and we've already discussed fencing updates and whatnot, we could contribute maybe $5,000 there. But if we're looking at needing to find a $50,000 match, we're going to have to find additional updates. And
right.
We're looking at doing the swing set and whatnot. Perhaps we try and counter that with an additional installation of benches and other items and such that we couldn't get done, depending on how much this costs us this year.
Let me just speak to pushing the wellness park further into the woods. We have an application that's from last June for the DCED to push it from the parking lot into the woods to, I think, just about the first pod or to the first pod.
The Northern Trail, Phase 3?
And then we could push it to the next pod. The one thing that's nice about a pod at a time is if it comes out to $75,000, $100,000 or something, first of all, I always think that's sort of a sweet spot for DCNR because they're not huge grants, and also it's doable if we find something else we can match with it. So that's one possibility. As far as DCED, I'd always thought we could apply for a vision loss trail on DCD in June because if we didn't get the LSA, but the LSA has kind of like disappeared from the face of the earth. Where is it? When do we hear? We have no idea.
Well, we did only just apply for the LSA. November 23rd, we submitted our application, so I don't believe we should be hearing back from them yet.
I'm talking, the vision loss, true.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. Yep.
But the other side of that, in speaking to Brian Smith, we are looking at, knock on wood, we are looking at being complete for all of our Marshall's Falls updates for October, November of 2021 this year.
Right.
That means we're going to need to pursue funding for Phase 2 of Marshall's Falls. And having the land acquisition for Marshall's Falls being kicked out of the running for DCNR, it will be eligible for DCED funding. So if we wanted to go after the DCED grant, we could use the land acquisition cost, the land portion, not any buildings or anything like that, but we could use that money as the 15% match to go after a DC grant and use that as our match. So that would be a possibility.
And that would cover, what, filling the parking lot, something like that?
It depends on what you guys wanted to do for that. We could pursue going after the overflow parking lot. Brian Smith also suggested using phase 2 to build the secondary loop trail on the back side after the overlook spot.
I think the secondary loop would be great, but, I've always thought we needed a second bridge to go across because of ADA access. But now I'm wondering, I think this is worth a discussion with them. Could we move the first bridge? The first bridge, when it was put in the perfect place to look at the falls, but you can't get anywhere from there on the other side unless you're able-footed. Maybe there's a way of moving that and making it the bridge for both ADA and general access and being able to get to the other side, all the trails on the other side. You should look into that.
It's definitely something we can do. I'm not familiar enough with the topography of the area to answer that question on the spot.
John, have you ever moved bridges?
Well, I put that one in,
What do you
for the
think?
township. You will have to go through the whole permitting process with the DEP again and make sure you've got clearance.
We'd have to do that anyway.
You'd have to do that anyway. If you can find a section of the stream downstream that is no wider, yeah, I would think you could do it. Now, when that bridge came, it was disassembled.
It came in 1,000 pieces, John.
Yeah, that's put it together. You're not gonna be able to go too far downstream if you're gonna try to move it intact. You would have to get a crane down there and pick it up and move it, which is feasible. If you get a crane down there, you're not going too far.
Well, I think it's a good question for Brian. Well, possible.
I don't know if Brian's landscape, it's an engineering issue.
Well, okay, well, who could advise us?
Well, I could do it if you want me to go take a look and see what's downstream that would provide better access on the opposite side. I can just take a quick look.
Okay.
I commented, the reason it went there is because that's where it was originally.
Oh, there was a bridge there before?
And they had the abutments there, John, too. Remember, that's where the bridge that washed away was. And didn't it make it a little bit easier because it existed?
Well, yeah, we got the grant money because we were replacing the bridge that got washed out.
Yeah.
So that's why it's there. Right. We knew from the get-go that the access wasn't great on the opposite side. Right. But the constraints were, it was washed out by the flood. FEMA gave us money to put it back, so that's exactly what we did.
Well, take a look and look at the plan. It seems like from the 16-space parking lot that we're building, his ADA access trail goes down pretty much along the bank there. Yeah. Maybe it would work.
Now, the other alternative, which I'll take a look at while I'm looking at it, is it may be cheaper to knock away some of the stone on the opposite side and create a more ADA compliant path from the present location. That might be a cheaper alternative.
I'm not sure it's possible. I've looked at it. Ryan's looked at it. I just don't know.
It's solid stone. I remember when we put it in. But I'll go take a look.
Okay.
I'll give you a report. Quick email report or something.
So this has been,
Is John, excuse me, John?
Yeah?
The company and the representative that we worked for when that bridge was, actually we staged it over in the old parking lot, Russ Scott's parking lot. And then took it, we had to put a road in, didn't we?
Yeah.
So that we could get the heavy equipment in there. But he was a very cooperative, and he seemed to be a knowledgeable guy, the rep that you work with and we worked with. I'm just wondering if maybe just a call to him, is it possible to move this bridge, without it falling apart, I guess? Or can we disassemble some of it and then put it back together.
Question, I think, is, can it be partially disassembled?
Yes.
The first thing, I think the first step is to find out, is there a suitable location, in
Amen.
proximity?
Yeah.
And if there is, then we gotta figure out how to go about it.
Okay.
Okay.
So I guess, in terms of what we're doing there, well, the immediate question is DCNR, right? But
Right, so we've got,
that's not a DCNR grant, because it's too huge a match, isn't it?
yeah, if we were going to do Marshall's Falls, the phase 2, that would definitely be a DCD grant.
Yeah.
Right.
So, we're back to what we do for April 14th.
Yes,
Well, I mean, we're sold though for River's Edge.
yeah, River's Edge has
Right.
been given the golden stamp of approval and it's good to go.
Right.
So, I mean, I think, probably just DCNR likes to see things that are, in progress to get finished, so perhaps the second play pod, I think, and then, while we do the regular playground improvements this year, we can focus on, what do we want to do next year in terms of aesthetics, benches, fences, the like, stuff like that. And the other things that Julia mentioned, like the volleyball court and the community garden, or even blending the vision loss trail and the wellness park, I mean, I think all of that should be a sufficient match, those.
Well, the other thing to think about is, Pocono Lands and Waters, which doesn't have a lot of money, but from what I remember, things like enlarging a volleyball court, for Hispanic volleyball players, that's an important part of it. The kind of thing that might work there very well. Or I sent everybody a picture of the what do you call it, the glider, where if you're handicapped, you could get in it. That kind of thing might work for land and waters.
Well, so that mini grant opportunity meeting was actually today at 2:00, and I haven't had the opportunity to update you guys on that, which I can do now if you would like. I did bring my notes here.
Sure.
All right, listen, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to leave this meeting, but I thank everybody for their time and patience, and I'll be talking to you soon. I'll explain it to you later, but I got to go. Goodbye.
Well, that's fine, maybe we could continue this tomorrow then.
Yeah.
Okay. Brian, I'll
All right.
make sure to send an email update so you've got all the information as well.
Okay.
Oh, he's gone.
Do you want to just give me a few highlights? I mean, how much money is that?
Few highlights, it's a 1-to-1 match, $2,000 to $10,000. The grant round opens today, and the applications are due by April 30th at 6 p.m.
Yeah. And how much money do they have in the fund?
They didn't tell us.
But what are the applications generally for?
In general, their goals are conservation, community outreach and education and connection. So they had a lot of presenters show that they were doing a lot of signage, trail connection, general trail maintenance, things like that, items and such.
Fairly mundane, as I remember.
Right. But financially, is it like?
Financially, $2,000 to $10,000 with a 1-to-1 match.
Oh. All right.
I think if we characterize the volleyball court as for an international volleyball tournaments ongoing among Colombian residents, it might work.
I'm gonna pass, but
They sort of like that stuff.
We can, I'll take a look at it.
yeah.
We'll
But
try and come up with
I think
something
that
for
idea of, that could work. That sounds good. But Ron, John, do you guys have anything else, or are we good to entertain a motion to adjourn?
I've got 2 assignments, is my understanding.
So we bills to pay.
No bills today.
Yes, you have.
Anything, Ron?
No, nothing for me. I came in a little late.
Pro bono lawyer. Is this the pro bono lawyer?
Wait a minute now. I came in a little late on that zoning discussion, so I'll check with Charlie Vote or whatever to see the background there. But obviously, whatever the township needs me to do, I'll be available. So thank you, gentlemen.
Well, thank you, Ron. Okay, hearing that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Levenheim, second by myself. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. And I will see probably a couple of you Thursday night.
See me there.
Good.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Ron.
Thanks again, guys, and I apologize for the screw up. My mind is still Wednesday for the workshop, so I got to get in sync that Tuesday are the workshops.
I
No
have the same
problem.
problem. I'm trying to switch my mind too, so you're not the only one.
I got a workshop. I will have it set up for the old day.
Yeah, mine too.
All
All
right,
right.
thanks, guys. Enjoy
Yeah,
the rest of the night. Thank you.
You too. Bye.